false vocal cords, which I'm in the habit of referring to as false vocal folds, how much of a role do they play in our singing?
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
How much of a role can they play? Well, they can play an advantageous role. They can play a disadvantaging role. Positive and negative. The false folds, so we have true folds. I actually saw the question earlier. So I'm going to see if I can show you here. So this is Lenny, the larynx. That's looking at Lenny from the front. That's looking at Lenny from the back. So looking at it down the throat, right? So this would be the front of the person. So here we've got your true folds. This muscle here, the red, can you see? I'll open, these two things here are the arytenoids. So when you can see me opening the vocal folds there, they don't open like that in real life. That's just the shortcomings of the anatomical model. When they open, so you can see the red part is the thyroarytenoid muscle. It's the body of the vocal fold. Now sitting, not shown on Lenny here, up above and to the side, which is at the moment basically space within the model. There are, so the ones down the middle are the true folds, I should say, and the ones, the stuff that's not there is the false folds. And it's a massive membrane that sits sort of up and to the side within the vocal tract itself. And they play a role in the primary functions of the voice. So a lot of people don't realize that the primary function of the larynx is actually not phonation. That is the creation of sound for speech or for singing. The primary role of, and there are kind of three, well there's 2 for men and 3 for women. The primary role is firstly for valving. It's a protective process to protect the airway to ensure that you can't get anything down there. The 2 valving functions are for lifting, so we create intrathoracic pressure when we valve. So the epiglottis comes down, the false folds close and the true folds close, and we get a locking of the mechanism. It increases intrathoracic pressure and gives us strength. We do the same kind of activity, that valving process, when we defecate, when we do a number 2, a poo. So that's the second one. And for ladies, for women, during childbearing. So when a lady is giving birth, then there is a very strong need to valve to push a baby out. And so there's the 3 primary functions of the larynx, and the false folds are involved in building weight in behind the true folds for that. They're all actually very positive attributes of the false folds in their party of that process. When it comes to singing, because the primary function of those false folds is to bear down and create weight in behind the true folds, when we are first learning to sing, there can be, in some singers, not in everyone, but in some singers, we can observe a habitual response of the false folds to bear down on the true folds and create what we refer to as supraglottic constriction. Supra being above, glottic being the space between the vocal folds is the glottis. So above the glottis, constriction, tightness, tension. And so we have to really make sure that that is not an active response. One of the ways we reduce that response of the false folds is by improving our subglottal pressure, the pressure below the glottis, and reducing that pressure point called the phonatory threshold pressure to ensure that there's no need for the false fold to come across and grab at that pressure to hold it back. And so that can be a negative. But you can, and we do see this in contemporary vocal, you can use that activation of a slightly engaged false fold activity to give us what we'd refer to as a pressed vocal value. And we do that by actually increasing the threshold pressure. And so it's a thing to remember in contemporary voice, it's never a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of managing in accordance with what is the aesthetic you're looking for. When we do this, if it is habitually driven, that is, you have no control over that, that's going to be a problem. That there will be a problem, because your natural tendency is just going to grab and it's going to create constriction. But if you are doing it intentionally and you know how to manage your air, we look at this sort of thing in Voice Essentials, the Voice Essentials program. Breath management is such a key part of the development of your voice, and therefore it is a very key part of what we do in the Voice Essentials program. You can check the online courses out in your own time. When we learn to manage our breath, we can alter the pressure. We can manage, that's why we call it breath management. We can alter the pressure in accordance with how much pressed value we want. And so these are really important things to be able to do. False fold constriction can be, if it's just left to its own devices, can be really problematic and can create a lot of wear and tear on the voice. It's not something that we want happening just willy-nilly. We want it to be, fully managed. As far as exercising that, Linda, then we're probably looking first and foremost to your sense of breath. But then we can also go looking to workshop our belt activity, because belt allows us to load the voice in a manner where we can create that pressed value alongside the belt, and figuratively speaking, it's not alongside the belt anatomically, and we can exercise it that way.